Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the first President's Forum for spring 2015. Today's topics are going to center around our recent news that we received from the Accrediting Commission, as well as to give the district and personnel an opportunity to get updated on where we are with Measure L and the rollout of the facility improvement plans and new construction. As you know, last Friday, I received a letter from the ACCJC, which was called an action letter, which reports the official action that the Commission took on January 8th relative to our status of accreditation. As anticipated, we anticipated to be reaffirmed, to continue that reaffirmation that was given to Cuesta College in February of 2014. Also consistent with what we learned from the visiting team exit report when they were here last fall, the reaffirmation came with some conditions of improvement, some things we had to take care of, which is not unusual. And so we have a timeline and some specifics that need to be accomplished for that, and that'll be shared with you in a moment. In addition to, we go back to November 2014, and the public supported Cuesta College with the approval of Measure L, which gave the college the opportunity to sell bonds up to a value of $275 million, which we pay for by property tax assessments. And those will be issued in 4 installments, or what we call 4 issuances over the next 12 years. The projects actually run for till 2027 is in our timeline. And we're in the process of rolling out the first issuance, which is a $75 million first phase. A team of us went to San Francisco last Monday, Terry Reese, Chris Green, and Vice President Tony Summer, to a bond rating meeting, at which we met with 2 bonding rating agencies, Standards & Poor's and Moody's, at which time they heard our presentations, asked questions, and then they in turn articulated with the rating agencies in New York, and we received our ratings yesterday, and which were favorable for us when we go out on the bond market. So our bond consultant, who's with Morgan Stanley, they'll be working on a proposal to be able to produce those bonds for sale. And hopefully a month from now, we'll be in the position where we'll actually have some cash to work with. That's kind of the timeline that we're expecting. And so I wanted to bring you up to date in terms of what this first phase looks like and what's going to be happening over the next few months, much of which impacts many of us who may be asked to move or be relocated, or at least need to know what's going to be happening around us, which is both exciting and also challenging in terms of logistics process. So to start this off, I'd like to ask Vice President Wolf to come forward, who's also our Accreditation Liaison Officer, who's going to give us an outline of how we approach the action letter that we received from the Commission, and what that means in terms of timelines, et cetera. Remember that we were reaffirmed for a 6-year period, so that means in 5 years we'll be going through the process of doing another self-evaluation in reference to the next 6 or so years, depending upon what the length of time is by that time that happens. So Dr. Wolf.
Thank you, Dr. Stork. Good afternoon, and first of all, we should all be celebrating and recognizing that we had 7 commendations and 1 compliance recommendation. And so where do we go from here? One of the things that we really have to make sure that we're doing as an institution is infusing accreditation into all of our structures. So we have already been in the process of that. We've done it with SharePoint, and we're using metadata to define all of our actions related to the standards. But we have to continue to do that and look at committee descriptions and make sure that we're really doing the accreditation work of the institution, so it's not so overwhelming as it was in the past for us. So anyway, where do we go from here? So in the team report and the commission letter, it indicated that we did not meet, we had one recommendation, and this recommendation is due in a follow-up report in October 15th, 2016. And so I'm just going to break this down to you in a simple way. We have to assure that our distance education programs and services are the same quality as on-site, on-ground programs. We have to assess our course materials developed outside the institution. We have to ensure that academic standards are comparable with its other programs. And we have to evaluate training methods for distance education instructors. So breaking it out, that's what we're looking at to meet that recommendation 1. So this is what we've already started and where we're going from here. The Accreditation Steering Committee has already met. We've already defined that the faculty leadership and Mark Stengel, who is the Director of Library and Distance Education, and myself, we're going to define the core groups who will be responsible for those tasks that I just defined above. We are building a calendar and timeline, so this report will have to go to the board in October 5th, 2016. And so luckily with the skills of Dr. Kevin Bottenball and Casey DeBernardi and myself, we will start working ourselves on the way back of how we move this through the governance process, how do we continue to have it reporting to the Accreditation Steering Committee, and how we stay on top of that. So as soon as we have that information, we will upload it onto the accreditation website so the community will be aware of what we're doing. And so I covered that. The next thing now, so that is our follow-up report in October 2016. The next thing that we had were recommendations on how to be more effective as an institution. These were suggestions that were given to us, and they align pretty much closely to our actionable plans that we put in our self-evaluation. So I'm not going to read these to you, but I'm going to break them out. The second recommendation was learning outcomes assessment and timelines as assessment results readily available. And we have all of our CPAS documents and our outcomes and assessment on the institutional research site, but they would like to see something that was more centralized. We kind of disagreed with that in the follow-up team report, but they kind of held steady on this one. And then we need to identify our program level outcomes in our catalog, which that'll be done in this next catalog round that'll go out for the year 15-16. The next recommendation for improvement, remember, this is just the tracking process for student authentication. We do have a process in place, but we need to tweak it a little bit, and so we'll be working on that. The next recommendation was consistent monitoring of records in employment, equity, and diversity. So HR will be working on this recommendation. And then recommendation 5 was to place a renewed emphasis on our board policies to make sure we're regularly evaluating them, revise, renumber in a timely manner. And then the last piece for our midterm report, which is due in October 2017, that these improvement recommendations will be addressed along with our 6 actionable improvement plans. And that'll be our midterm report. And again, everything that we do in Accreditation Steering Committee, we'll make sure that it's available to everyone on the accreditation website. So if you have anything. Can I answer any questions or address anything? Wow, easy group. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. One of the things I shared this morning at Cabinet was the reaction from the community on the announcement of our accreditation reaffirmation. I've probably had at least 30 emails sent to me from people all over the county. We're really truly celebrating our success, because our success is really the reassurance to our public that we are on top of our game and we are going to be serving the residents of San Luis County to the best of our ability. So it's far-reaching. It has great impact on the level of confidence of our community when it comes time for them to vote on measures like Measure L, when it comes time for them to step up and support a campaign from our foundation or to support students, it pays off. And we also learned when we went to the bond rating committee, accreditation is a significant criterion that is considered in the bond rating process. So if you're an institution that is struggling within accreditation, your credit score drops because you're not deemed to be at the top of your game and reliable. So it has far-reaching effects, some of which is farther than I imagined where it would have an impact. So being reaffirmed is a great message back to the community to say, thank you for your trust in approving Measure L, and we're doing our part by measuring up to the compliance issues set forth by the U.S. Department of Education. So it's kind of a hand-in-glove operation. So speaking of Measure L, I gave you a little preliminary. We're ready to go out on our first issuance, and I've asked Tony Summer and Terry Reese to come forward and kind of give you an update of where we are and what's going to be rolling out in the next few months. So I'll leave it to you guys. Thank you.
Hang on. Okay, Chris Green is here because he's shadowing me. He's gonna watch me do my Vanna White thing, so pay attention, okay, Chris? I'm gonna talk a little bit about the money part of it. We've been working very, very quickly. One of the things that we did in anticipation of the election, we did a lot of pre-planning, more than most districts do, because we wanted to be able to set forth for the voters exactly what we were going to do with the money if, in fact, they could trust us with $275 million. So we did a lot of the pre-planning. We need to do that anyway for our facilities master planning as well as our capital outlay plan. So what's done now that we've had a successful Measure L, we're actually about a year ahead of schedule than most districts would be done. So for the first issuance, it's not uncommon that a district would actually issue about $10 million, and primarily for planning expenditures. We're actually going to do a first issuance of $75 million because not only are we going to plan, we're going to build 2 buildings, get rid of all the DSA unapproved modulars, bring in new modulars, do repairs, and work on technology, and in fact pay off one of the COPs. So we're actually going to do this next week. So real quick, what you will find next week going on the market, we did send out an email yesterday that there will be an availability locally with Morgan Stanley to buy these bonds. We're going to do a $75 million bond. It's going to have 2 parts. Part A is a tax-exempt bond, meaning that the earnings on the bond are tax-exempt for $72 million. And there's going to be another series, 1A1, which is $3 million, which is going to be taxable by the federal government. And the reason for this is because part of the bond is going to be used to pay off one of the COPs. And part of that COP has in fact been refinanced multiple times and is no longer eligible to be tax exempt. And so that's what the $3 million is for. That $3 million portion will pay that portion of the one COP and keep us all legal, including the people who buy the bond. The COP will actually be paid off in August. We can only pay the COP off on payment dates, and they're in early February and the beginning of August. We've missed the early February dates, so we will be paying the 2006 COP off in early August. And as I said in opening day, with the payoff of that COP and the other sources of funds other than the general fund we use to pay our COPS payments and the release of contingency reserve accounts that are required for the COPS. Starting with fall 2015, no more general fund dollars will go to any more COPS payments. They will, the 2006 and the 2018 COPS will continue to be paid upon because the 2000, what's the first one? I get it mixed. 3, yes, thank you. The 2003 is actually due in 2018, so we're just going to make those payments, and the 2009 will be paid off with the second issuance. Any questions about that? That will mean another $1.2 million starting next year of available cash in our general fund that will not go to COPS payments. So anyway, a week ago, Monday, Chris Green, Terry Reese, Dr. Stark, and I went down up to San Francisco, and we met with the rating groups. We had to do a very comprehensive report and presentation. The presentations were about 2 hours. They wanted to know about the community, they wanted to know about assessed values, they wanted to know how we were managed, they wanted to know what our fiscal history has been. Quite a interview. Yesterday, we got the actual rating reports. And from Moody's, we got a AA2, and from Standard & Poor's, we got a AA-. These are fairly good ratings. They are not the highest possible, but they're very good ratings. In fact, they're higher ratings than the COPS. They are slightly different from one another, but they're right in the ball field. But I learned a lot there, and I want to read you a couple of things from the narrative of those ratings. Standard & Poor's said the ratings reflected primarily an agricultural local economy, which is diversified in recent years, coupled with good economic indicators. So obviously our rating is based on, remember, who's going to pay for these bonds is the property owners. So they have to make sure that we have assessed values and a strong economy, because those are the people who are going to actually make the payment. And so they looked at the fact that we were an agricultural economy, maintenance of good to strong available reserves, a board policy maintain at least 6% general fund. What was also interesting, as a coincidence of history, we just went through our long-term budget reduction plan, and remember, we purposely allowed our reserves to be built up, and so we've been carrying a reserve of between 10 and 15% a year. That actually played in our favor. That really helped our ratings. And I was pretty proud of that, and we got a good on it. Ironically, we did not get a great. It is not up to the average community college actual reserves, and they would prefer to see more. And in fact, later, the rating agencies talk about that they will watch the amount of our reserve, and if in fact does fall, they will lower our rating. They did talk about our operational flexibility in reducing expenditures, and that as well as our overall net debt burden. Though we have the COPS, we don't have other debt like other community colleges do. Moody's said our strength was, or what could make the ratings go up, is a trend of operating surpluses leading to a substantial reserve. Again, they want to see that larger reserve, and significant growth in assessed value and the economic indicators of the county. What could make our rating go down is the narrowing of the general fund reserves, as well as accreditation concerns. They both recognize that we were reaffirmed, but they both recognize that we had experienced some accreditation problems. Our strengths are large coastal tax base with average wealth levels, stable unrestricted general fund financial position with improving cash levels, and strong managerial policies. And what some challenges that they see that we have is somewhat depressed enrollment levels and an above average lease burden. That will probably change. In fact, it will change with the next issuance because all the COPS will be paid off. So anyway, just to give you some ideas of things they looked at. Next week, on the February 17th and 18th, we will be involved working with the underwriters actually coming up with a price for a bond, and the actual sale of the bond will happen on February 18th. And we will have delivery of funds around March 5th. Which means we're going to actually get to do what Terry's going to share with you. If anyone is interested, you could, in fact, purchase bonds at the local Morgan Stanley office, and this is who you would contact. Any questions? Okay.
I'm good. Thank you. Good afternoon. Dr. Stork asked me to do an update on what's happening this spring and summer with Measure L. What I'd like to do first is to hit what we had discussed at the last update about the schedule for the first issuance, and then quickly back out what's happening this spring. Originally, we had scheduled before November 30th to have the roof repairs and both the buildings on the North County campus and the San Luis Obispo campus to design drawings. Currently, to date, the roofs are in engineering, and the plans are moving forward. And by the end of this month, within the next 2 weeks, those design drawings will actually be completed. So we're about a month ahead of time on those two buildings. Once the design drawings are done, we do one last fiscal analysis of the plans to make sure we're drawing a building we can afford to build, which we believe is a good idea. And then they'll go into construction drawings. We expect that to last about 3 months, and then they go to the Department of State Architect for approval. We're still on schedule to get those back in November to December and go out to bid in January for construction, February or March of next year. So we're on schedule on those two new buildings. We also had the swimming pool was an issue that we weren't quite sure which of one of three projects we wanted to do, and kind of depended on when we could take the pool down. Tony gave me a surprise at the opening day by saying I can do a pool project, but I can't affect FTE. So I'm sitting there going, okay, how do we do that? We came up with an idea, and that was to test the pool for structural competency, or if the pool had any basis left to build on. And this last weekend on Sunday, we did some tests of the pool, and it proved to be strong enough to repair as opposed to replace. So it's good news. It speeds up the project and actually saves the district Measure L monies for future use. The most critical project that we're facing right now is the one I wanted to address the most amount of attention to, which is the modular project. The modular project, though we've been receiving a lot of questions of, where is the project? It's actually about 2 months ahead of where we would expect to be right now. I'll give you an example of, let's see if I can get this pull up. This is on the San Luis Obispo campus. This is the temporary housing for what would be moving the folks out of the 6800 building, which is the faculty. They would be moving across in the open area where we would have a 1,920 square foot structure, which is literally twice the size of the 6800 building. The faculty in the 2600 building would also be going over into that building. And also part of public safety, a very small section of that would go into public safety would go into there. So we have that structure actually drawn out to plans, and that is going out to bid right now. So that gives you a feel of...
Terry, you guys want to point out, 6600 building is the public safety building, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just so people get oriented, you know the numbers of buildings better than most anybody knows their social security numbers, so just want to make sure that everybody is oriented. So we're looking towards Highway 1.
Correct. 6600 is public safety, reprographics is in 67, and then faculty office is in 68. Reprographics will stay in that structure. There's no reason to move them out. So that's where that's located. And I'm sorry I don't have this in a better format. Some of these we received as late as yesterday. Okay, this is looking at the back of the cafeteria and the asphalt parking area as you come out the back door. You'll notice the cafeteria is to your left, and what would be 1701 and 02 would be on the bottom side of your screen. Those are 4 classrooms. Those classrooms are 45 cap or capacity classrooms, and they're designed to replace, it would be classroom 2000, and specifically classroom 2600, which is paramedics. It looks like paramedics will move over to, we're still identifying this, hasn't been confirmed, but paramedics may move over into the 2200 complex, and then we'll see how that cascades out, but we're not quite sure. But we do have those 4 structures identified and that they actually have a little bit larger capacity than the classrooms that they're replacing. Any questions on this slide? That's actually in, if you come out of the back door of the cafeteria, it is the parking lot. We initially thought we were going to need 5 structures back there, but we've pared it down to 4. And of course, again, every bit of savings goes to another project. Okay, let me give you a little bit of backup on this slide. The reason why you don't see anything in these boxes isn't because we don't know what's in the boxes. This is a rough sketch, if you will, of the North County campus as we do in planning process. It's kind of offset to the right, and it's really not critical. The next slide will explain. But we use slides like this to then take to the programs. This is North County Campus Portable Project, and we have to figure out in these little boxes, which are to represent buildings in the North County, and the next slide will be more clear, who lives in those boxes. And when I show you the next slide, you'll get a better feel. But why I wanted to bring that up is to show that there are planning documents behind the actual plans. And let me see. Oops, that's underwater. That actually, well, for here, kind of a fun slide. This is what happened this last Sunday. We had 4 professional divers using a very cool test equipment to actually test the thickness. If you're ever really bored, I got a 10-minute video of this. It looks exactly the same for 10 minutes. Okay, North County campus. If you look at the bottom left-hand side of the shot is the 2400 building, the backside of the 2400 building with the courtyard. Top left would be where the Children's Center would be, and the bottom right is where the Learning Resource Center currently is. The layout is to scale, and these are the structures that would make up the temporary North County campus. We do have these identified by building number on this screen. In the actual plans, we have the programs that we believe will go into those buildings. We don't have the programs up on the screen because we haven't gone through yet with the individual programs, the structures themselves, and exactly their location, but we have general ideas. This has already been sent to the Department of State Architecture for a quick look, and they gave us an idea of what we'd have to do to be in compliance, and then we're going to be going to Department of State Architecture next month to run this through the permit process. We expect that these will go out to bid and start to be brought on the San Luis campus and North County campus in April, with moving into them in June and middle of July for to be ready for the August timeline. So again, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. We actually have the interior of most of these buildings already identified for the programs to look at. So that's where the portable projects are.
The reason for the child care center position where it is in that upper left is because we're retaining the current play yards that are there now. So we'll retain those. We'll move in other portables to create the classroom and office structure for that. And that'll stay there for probably
5 years.
5 years, because the new child care center will be located to the east side of the library, and that comes in the second issuance. So this will be a semi-permanent structure for a while. That's why we're, wanting to incorporate it with existing yard space.
Correct, and we're trying to match wherever possible capacities as close as they are now, so there's not a whole lot of shock when you move out of the existing buildings into these new portables. But the truth is, you're moving out of 8,000 square foot monstrous portables into a divided city, so it's going to feel a little bit different. But hopefully, when you're in your own environment, it'll feel comfortable enough for 2 years. one example, one that I can't identify is on the bottom right, is where most of the student services is going to be housed. And that initially was in 2 buildings, and we determined to make it more conducive, to make it more flow more properly, it would have to be one large building. So kind of some of the things that we're doing to make this more comfortable. But we are definitely, as it stands right now, on timeline. We've confirmed with 3 manufacturers that all 3 of them can supply these portables in the timeline, so we've got good competition, which is kind of cool. So any questions on the portable projects?
And timing on that, Terry?
Timing is we expect to be moving into them in June and July. So physically moving boxes, and again, we'll be rolling out, this, as Tony has stated, even though we're a year ahead of time in the overall planning and a month ahead of time on the portable, a lot of the actual schedule is rolling out right now. I believe this drawing with the programs identified on it came to us yesterday. So we're going to be asking for meetings with the programs during the next 2 to 3 weeks to define if what we think is correct is what the programs need. We'll put the timeline out to the programs, what we believe it is, and then we'll get feedback.
And when you say June and July for the actual moves, that's both campuses? You
Yes.
think you're going to be able to pull that off
Oh, absolutely.
both places, both times?
Yeah, the staffing to get the programs moved isn't a concern. It's more of making sure that when we do the move, it's well planned out. And that's why it takes us some time to roll out schedules, is to make sure that we're not jumping and stopping, which actually proves to be better than giving bad information. But we expect it to not be a concern. One of the upsides is we've learned, and we're going to confirm here next week, that will probably likely be wireless through these structures as opposed to being plugged in all over the place, which means where we place the people, so where we place the people in the structures is going to be a little easier to do, but we have to confirm that. So one last thing. A project that I had been instructed to research by Tony a year ago, and something that we've had in the plans is an advanced campus-wide notification system. And we do currently have different systems in place. We have public safety has got processes out there. We also have the texting system that is a notification system. But one of the things that I've received permission to move forward with, now that we have the funding to do it, is a campus-wide visual notification system that we've just ordered 202, I believe it's 202 of these devices. They're wireless. They'll be going into every classroom and most of the common areas in the offices, and there'll be a legend sitting right next to them and these are computer activated by zone. So if something is happening in a particular zone on campus that we want to notify, this light will go off and you'll be able to read the legend and be able to react appropriately. So we expect to have this system, which is our first big jump at a campus-wide notification system. We should start installing this in the next 3 weeks, and then hopefully have the campus-wide installation done in probably 60 days. So it's exciting for us, probably boring for you guys. Anything else, sir? Any questions? No.
Every other Monday, Terry attends our executive meeting, which is the meeting of the vice presidents, executive director of human resources, myself, and gives us a progress report and update on where we are with Measure L. And I just sit in awe of what Terry is doing and how he is overseeing this very complicated, a very instrumental combination of, it's one thing to build a new building, it's another thing to remodel and create transitions of people. So being able to orchestrate that and with the sensitivity that we still have business to do, we still have classes to teach, and we know that change is difficult for most people, He's doing a magnificent job, and I just want to publicly thank Terry and his team. He's put together, when you look at the org charts of all the teams that are in place, from the contractors to the construction managers, the architects, to whomever. It's a very, very orchestrated and very, very complicated. But the great thing about it is we're in control. We're not at the mercy of an outside agency coming in and then taking advantage of the fact that we've got money to spend. We have money to spend, but we need to spend it wisely, judiciously, and to fulfill our promise to the community. Remember, the board did not approve all the money we actually need, so we need to be really frugal with how we process the expenditures of these dollars. And Terry takes that very seriously, and does a great job with it. So at this point, you have an update on the accreditation. As expected, as soon as we got the letter, I knew that Deb and Kevin would be right on top of it and get the action going with the Accreditation Steering Committee. Even though that October 16th or 15th of 2016 seems a long ways away, remember, when we have an October deadline, we really need to be done in the spring. Because summer hits and we lose faculty and we lose that regular session of our central committees meeting to get approval, and that whole participatory decision-making process is put on hold. So we really have to put in our mind an accelerated timeline, and I really appreciate the way in which they set forth to set that timeline so we have a reasonable chance of completing these tasks successfully. So be looking for opportunities to serve and to help the college move forward, whether it be on responding to a improvement recommendation or a compliance recommendation, or one of the planning agendas that we self-identified in our self-evaluation report. And then also, if you are working in an office and people are asking questions about what's happening with Measure L, we hope you'll be good stewards of that information and be able to articulate that. Lead people to the video that will be posted on our website from this forum today. And people in the community, if they're asking questions, have them turn into now Channel 2. Is that right, Pat? Channel 2 is at the end of February, our charter channel is being switched from 19 to 2, which is where higher education is going to be, and the former appearance on Channel 19 will be dedicated to K-12 education. So lead people to that. People are looking forward to finding out more of what's going on at Cuesta College, and I think there'll be a lot of interest and sensitivity about not only accreditation, but also how our bond is being rolled out, so they can actually see what's happening with whether they voted for it or not voted for it. It's still they're going to be paying for it. So with that, any questions? And I want to say thank you to Tony for attending her last President's Forum, as she will be leaving us at the end of the month. And as you noticed in my email to the college, that I have convinced Chris Green that it would be a great career opportunity for him to step in as the interim. That's subject to board approval, but I'm really looking forward to working with Chris in his capacity as the interim vice president. So anyway, have a great day. Thank you.